The silence was suffocating. Elias Rain stepped off the landing platform of the shuttle onto Outpost Thera 9, his boots clicking against the cold, metallic floor. The air smelled ancient, filtered too many times, laced with a faint tang of machine oil and something older, almost primal. The lights flickered in protest as if they hadn't tasted power in years. "Welcome, Commander Rain," chirped the AI system embedded in his wristband, the voice too cheerful for the grave task ahead. "Atmosphere is stable. No hostile movement detected. Yet." "Comforting," Elias muttered, adjusting the pressure seals on his suit. He was alone. The Federation had insisted on it. One man to represent all of humanity. One man to either build a bridge or light the fuse for another war. He hadn't told them about the nightmares, the ones where his brother's final scream echoed through shattered comms. Peace was a noble cause, but for Elias, it was also penance. The outpost was part human architecture, part Valari monolith. Angles met curves, metal met obsidian. The result was unsettling, like walking through a forgotten dream built by two species who had never truly understood each other. The doors to the central chamber opened without a sound. Inside stood the reason he had come. She was still as stone, yet radiated presence. 8 feet tall, armored in dark metallic plates that shimmered faintly with violet light. Her long, clawed fingers rested on the hilt of a blade strapped across her back. The only sound was the quiet hum of the gravity stabilizers. Elias took a step forward, and only then did she move. Her eyes, luminous gold set in obsidian skin, locked onto his. For a second, time didn't exist. "You are small," she said. Her voice was not mechanical or guttural as he expected. It was deep, clear, and precise, like a song sung by a machine learning to feel. "And you're tall," Elias replied, not missing a beat. A twitch of her lip. Not quite a smile, not yet. "I am High Sentinel Varnexa," she said. "Of the Valari Triumvirate. I was sent to evaluate the possibility of your species' compatibility." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Compatibility? With what?" "With us. With truth. With unity. With the future," she said. "That begins with the trial." He folded his arms. "No peace talks. No ceremonial gift exchanges. We have no need for ceremony. Only understanding. And that begins with survival. If you are not worthy, you will not leave." Elias forced a breath out. "Charming." Varnexa turned and began walking down a corridor lit with pulsing blue glyphs. "Follow, or return to your ship. The choice is yours." He followed. Of course he did. The corridor twisted, grew narrower, then opened into a chamber that looked almost organic. A central pedestal pulsed with faint light. "This is the Hall of Convergence," Varnexa said. "Here, we begin the first trial. But not today." Elias approached the pedestal. "What's the trial?" She watched him, unmoving. "To determine if a human can endure a Valari connection. Emotional transparency. Mental challenge. Physical trial. The full spectrum. I thought this was diplomacy, not gladiator games. For us, there is no difference. A partner must be tested in every way." Something about the word partner caught in his chest, but he pushed past it. Varnexa walked toward him, her footsteps silent. "You were chosen not because you are the strongest, or smartest. But because you are unguarded. You bleed your pain. That intrigues us. And if I fail, you'll die. Or you'll wish you had." Elias stared into her glowing eyes. "Thanks for the vote of confidence." She stepped closer. He could feel the heat radiating off her skin, even through his suit. "You think this is a game? It is not. Tomorrow, I will test you. And I do not fail my orders." Elias didn't flinch. "I'm not here to win. I'm here to understand. If that means facing whatever test you throw at me, I'm ready." She leaned in slightly. "We shall see." She reached up, unclasping the segmented helmet from her head. It slid off with a soft hiss, revealing her face angular, striking, almost statuesque. Silver-tinted markings lined her temples, pulsing faintly. Her hair, if it could be called that, shimmered like spun metal braided down her back. But it was her expression that stunned him. Not hatred. Not superiority. Curiosity. I expected a brute, she said softly. Not this. Elias tilted his head. Disappointed. Conflicted. For a heartbeat, neither spoke. The chamber seemed to hold its breath. Then she turned and walked away. Rest, human. You'll need it. He watched her go, his mind spinning. This wasn't war. It wasn't diplomacy. It was something else, something more primal, more intimate. And if she was conflicted, then maybe, just maybe, he had a chance. As the doors sealed behind her, Elias exhaled slowly. What did I just sign up for? The AI in his wrist hummed. Unknown protocol. You may be in love. He snorted. Shut up. But even as he lay down on the cold metal bunk in the observation quarters, her eyes haunted him. Not for their size or glow or alien beauty, but because, for a moment, she had looked just as alone as he was. And tomorrow, the trial would begin. Elias stood in the center of the simulation chamber, sweat already trickling down his neck. The room was circular, with seamless obsidian walls that pulsed softly with blue light. He wore a flexible mesh suit embedded with neural sensors. Across from him, Varnexa stood, towering and silent, her armor replaced with a ceremonial black bodysuit that shimmered like a fluid shadow. This is your first trial, she said. A reconstruction of one of our war scenarios. You must survive. Protect. Decide. Elias adjusted his gloves. Will it hurt? It won't kill you. Probably. The chamber dimmed, then erupted into a new reality. Burning skies, ruined buildings, screaming civilians. The air reeked of plasma and blood. A Valari city under siege by humans. The simulation was flawless. A child clung to a wall, crying. Fires roared in the distance. Automated drones buzzed overhead, scanning for threats. Elias's heart raced. Choose, Varnexa's voice echoed, even though she was nowhere in sight. Fight, or protect. They are not the same. A man sprinted toward him, human, armed, face twisted in rage. Elias dodged instinctively and tackled him from behind. He disarmed the attacker without killing, binding his wrists with fiber cable. Seconds later, another figure emerged, a Valari soldier, blood streaming from a chest wound. She was barely conscious, shielding a wounded child. Without hesitation, Elias hauled both behind a collapsed pillar and pressed gauze onto the soldier's wound. Stay awake. You hear me? Don't close your eyes. Explosions rocked the earth. The simulation pushed harder. Panic, smoke, screaming layer after layer of chaos. But Elias kept moving, not as a warrior, but as a shield. He guided civilians to shelter, disabled threats, never pulling the trigger unless there was no other option. After what felt like an hour, silence fell. The fire vanished. The wounded faded into mist. The walls of the chamber returned, smooth and dimly lit. Varnexa stepped forward. You chose mercy. And burden. I chose to stay human, Elias replied, breathless. Was that wrong? No. But it was unexpected. She gestured to a side corridor. The next trial awaits. They walked in silence until they reached a smaller room with two seats facing each other. Between them stood a metallic node, glowing faintly. This is the memory exchange, Varnexa said. We each share one moment. Fully. Without filters. It will be seen, felt, lived by the other. Elias looked at the device. What happens if we show something we're not proud of? She met his gaze. Then we understand each other. They Saturday. The node warmed. A pulse traveled up his spine. A soft hum filled the air. Close your eyes, she said. And he did. The memory wasn't a dream. It was real, sharp, and immediate. Elias saw through her eyes, a Valari battlefield. She was younger, surrounded by blood and fire. A human boy, barely a teenager, stumbled from the wreckage, hands raised. Her squad demanded she kill him. She refused. Her commander branded her a traitor. Her name was removed from her clutch. She was exiled. Pain burned in her chest, not just from betrayal, but from the shame of mercy. The memory snapped away. Elias opened his eyes, stunned. I thought you hated us. I hated what I was told to become, Vanessa said. Your turn. He inhaled, placed his hands on the node. She closed her eyes. Through his memory, she stood on a dry, wind-beaten cliff on Mars, helmet in hand, staring at the grave of his brother. The wind screamed, red dust swirling. Elias knelt beside the grave, laying a carved stone. I should have stopped him, he whispered. But I believed in duty. It killed him. The emotion in the memory was raw. Grief, guilt, and something deeper, regret for trusting war over love. The memory faded. The room went silent. When Vanessa opened her eyes, they were darker, quieter. You mourn, deeply. Elias sat back. It never leaves. They rose. No words felt necessary. But Vanessa broke the silence. Final trial for today. A combat ritual. Close range. Controlled. It is symbolic. Symbolic of what? Elias asked. She stepped into the next chamber without answering. It was a small arena, dimly lit. No weapons. Just open space and padded walls. Strike, dodge, adapt, she said. Show me how you move. Show me if you see. They circled. She moved first, quick and graceful, almost feline. Elias ducked, rolled, dodged a leg sweep, and shoved her off balance. She laughed, a deep, rich sound, and retaliated with a spin that sent him tumbling. He got up, face flushed. Was that symbolic enough? Almost. She closed the gap in one lunge. Her arm brushed his chest, pinning him against the wall. He didn't flinch. Her face was inches from his. They both froze. Her breath was warm. Her eyes searched his, not for weakness, but truth. You fight like someone who wants to be understood, she said softly. And you test like someone who's afraid to be. Her fingers twitched but didn't move. She stepped back. Trial over. You pass, for now, she said. Tomorrow, the mind must open. Looking forward to it, he replied, though his heart thundered. As they walked away from the arena, Elias turned to her. You said earlier this was symbolic. Of what, exactly? Vanessa glanced back. Of whether our instincts will destroy or connect us. Then she vanished through the corridor, leaving Elias alone with that thought. And for the first time in years, he realized something terrifying. He wasn't just surviving these trials. He was starting to care. The chamber was silent, the kind of silence that felt like it was watching. Elias stood alone beneath a domed ceiling carved with alien constellations, each star pulsing faintly. This was the final trial. Across from him, Vanessa stepped out of the shadows, her eyes unreadable. Her ceremonial armor was gone. She wore a simple black robe fastened by a single clasp. Her tall form seemed almost vulnerable, though her posture remained razor-straight. No weapons today? Elias asked, voice dry. She approached slowly. This trial requires none. What comes next is not combat. He tried to steady his breath. So what is it? Confluence. She stopped inches from him. We will link minds. Not through memory. Not through words. Emotion. All of it. Every wall, every mask gone. Elias felt his pulse rise. And what if I'm not ready? Then your mind will fracture. Comforting. She didn't smile. This is not comfort. It is truth. If there's any path forward for our kinds, it begins with trust. She placed one hand on his chest, fingers splayed over his heart. Her touch was warm, not cold as he expected. The contact triggered a quiet hum from the confluent stone behind them, a crystalline structure that now glowed bright amber. You must place your hand over mine, she said quietly. He did. Their palms aligned. Suddenly, the world unraveled. Elias felt a jolt deep inside his chest, like being yanked through his own memories, except he was not just remembering. He was feeling, through someone else. He was a child again, but taller, heavier. He felt the pressure of 1,000 expectations, the chill of silence from elders who valued strength but denied affection. The Lysari way, repress, endure, conquer. He watched Vanessa as a young warrior, dueling endlessly. One mistake earned a lash. Compassion was punished. Honor was suffocating. Then the perspective shifted. Now she was him. She stood on Earth, in the academy dormitory, staring out a rain-speckled window, heart heavy. She watched as Elias's brother, smiling, loud, alive, headed off to war. She felt the dread Elias had buried for years. Through each vision, emotion poured across the link: grief, guilt, rage, shame, but then, something softer. Longing. Their bond stabilized. He saw through her eyes again, but differently now. She had watched him even before the trial began. She had seen his file, his scars, and something she couldn't name. That confusion, it wasn't strategic. It was personal. He gasped as the flood slowed. His knees buckled. She caught him before he fell. He looked up. Her face had changed, not in shape, but in expression. She wasn't stoic now. Her mouth was slightly open, eyes wide with something close to wonder. "You hid less than I expected," she said. "You felt more than I imagined," he whispered. A silence followed. Not uncomfortable. Just real. Then a shrill tone pierced the chamber. A red glyph lit up on the wall. Vanexa's eyes narrowed. She rose to her full height. "They're watching." "Who?" Elias asked. "My superiors. The triumvirate. They've monitored everything. And they've made their judgment." He stood, unsettled. "Is this part of the trial?" "No." A panel opened above. A hovering drone descended, its optics fixed on Elias. A voice crackled through, deep, distorted, alien. "The human shows weakness. Confluence confirms emotional instability. He is unfit." Vanexa stepped between the drone and Elias. "Terminate him. End the trial." Elias tensed, reaching instinctively for a weapon he didn't have. "This is how you negotiate peace." "It was never negotiation," she said bitterly. "It was a test of obedience. Not yours. Mine." The drone advanced. Vanexa didn't move. "Stand down," she ordered. "Disobey, and your lineage is void. Your name erased. You will be unmade." Elias stepped beside her. "Let me go. Don't throw everything away." She didn't look at him. "I have spent my life serving without question. When I spared that boy years ago, they stripped me of my clutch. This trial, this was my chance to regain status. Then do it. Save yourself." She turned to face him. Her eyes shimmered faintly. "They never wanted a bridge," she said. "They wanted proof that connection was a flaw." She raised her arm. The drone charged a pulse weapon. And she struck. A flash of silver, a blade hidden within her sleeve, slashed through the drone in a single, silent motion. Sparks flew. It crashed to the ground, lifeless. The silence that followed felt heavier than before. Vanexa looked down at her hand, trembling slightly. "I am no longer Valari, not to them." Elias touched her arm. "Then be something more." She looked at him, really looked. For the first time, the barrier between them didn't feel impossible. "We need to go," she said. "To where?" "To the core. There's a beacon, old Valari tech, long-range, interstellar. If we activate it together, both our peoples will see." He nodded. They moved fast, weaving through the stone corridors toward the deep levels of the outpost. No more trials. No more games. As they ran, Elias felt something shift inside him. Not fear. Not just adrenaline. Hope. Not because she saved him. Because she chose him. The lower levels of Outpost Thera 9 had not been used in decades. Each corridor felt older, colder. The walls bore symbols neither Elias nor Vanexa paused to translate. The air grew heavier the deeper they descended, thick with history and abandonment. And silence. Not the silence of peace, but the kind that comes just before something breaks open. Vanexa walked ahead, her robe dragging faintly behind her. Elias followed, close but quiet. There were no guards. No warnings. Just the distant thrum of ancient machinery coming back to life. "This place," he murmured, "wasn't meant to be found again, was it?" "It was built for union," she replied. "Before war made the idea heresy." A final steel door stood before them, ringed in faint orange light. She pressed her palm against the lock. The door opened slowly, dust spilling out like mist. Inside was a circular chamber, walls studded with fiber crystals, and in the center an archaic Valari beacon, shaped like a blooming star. Elias stared. That can transmit across the systems. It can transmit truth, she said. If we link through it together, what we felt, what we chose, will be seen. Not words. Not speeches. The raw, shared truth. He looked at her, more warrior than alien now. You're sure this will work? No, she turned. But it's the only thing worth trying. They approached the beacon together. He placed his hand on one side, her claws brushed the other. The beacon glowed faintly, flickering like it didn't quite remember how to breathe. The moment their hands connected, a pulse of light surged from its core. The chamber vanished. They stood, side by side, within a projection of memories moments from their trial. The battlefield simulation. The memory exchange. The confluence. The fight. The moment she struck down her own drone. But it didn't stop there. Now, the vision expanded, dozens of watchers from both species, their faces projected in the air. Valari commanders. Human generals. Civilians. Scholars. Diplomats. Watching not as enemies, but witnesses. This is who we are, Varnexa spoke aloud. Not because of duty. Not because of orders. But because we chose to see each other. Elias stepped forward. You call us weak. You call us emotional. But connection isn't weakness, it's survival. It's strength. Another pulse rippled out, this one slower, warmer. A feeling, not data. Trust. The beacon burned gold. Somewhere, someone gasped. Elias saw it, a Valari child, watching from a schoolroom across the stars. A human technician in a control room. Two scientists, one from each side, glancing at each other with something like realization. The message was sent. The link held. And then the chamber began to shudder. Varnexa's hand dropped. They're jamming the signal. Elias reached for her. We did it. They saw. But they won't all believe. We don't need them all. Just enough. The door behind them opened with a grinding snarl. A figure stepped through, another Valari, tall like her, armored in crimson. His eyes burned with betrayal. Traitor, he hissed. You bonded with that. Varnexa stepped in front of Elias, unarmed but unmoved. He is not an object. He is a man. And I chose him. Just as he chose me. The warrior raised his weapon. Elias spoke up. You think destroying us will erase what people just felt? The Valari hesitated. Too late, Elias added. The war you wanted just got harder to justify. The silence hung. Then the intruder snarled and vanished back into the dark, retreating. Varnexa exhaled. For now. They didn't chase him. Instead, they sat near the beacon's base, the weight of everything crashing in. Elias broke the quiet. When this started, I thought I was here to prove humanity was more than fear. You were, she said. And now? Her golden eyes searched his. Now, I believe there is more to feel than fear. He smiled faintly. You still talk in riddles. She moved closer. And you still pretend to hide your emotions when they light up your entire face. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. She leaned in. There was no ceremony. No music. Just the quiet press of foreheads, the warmth of shared breath. It wasn't a kiss. Not quite. But it was more honest than any oath he'd sworn in his life. When they left the chamber, the air felt different. Not because the war was over. Not yet. But because, somewhere out there, people were asking different questions now. And sometimes, that was enough to begin everything. Final line. They came as symbols of war but walked away as proof that even galaxies apart, hearts could still find a way to meet.